Traci from Downward Dog Rising, and I was wondering why it felt like I tweaked my back, and it's because I ran on the beach yesterday and it was very uneven sand, and not only was the sand really uneven and sloped, it was like deep, where if I wanted to run and not get my feet wet and have sand stick everywhere, I had to go in deeper sand. And then today it dawned on me, one side of my back hurts because I ran on uneven sand. So if you've ever had back pain because you tweaked your back, like you twist sideways or you pick something up and you're not like paying attention, and then you let your core go, you pick something up too far away, and then you feel it on one side of the back. If you've ever had that happen, then this workout's for you. And I'm gonna give you some tips that you could do to help your low back so you can kind of get that pain on one side to ease and release. For one thing, you rest it, but I'm gonna try to balance out the two sides in case it kind of went out of balance. I'm just gonna give an example. I'm gonna go grab my Pilates dowel, and then I'm using this as a reference point because I wanna show you a straight line across your hip bones. So, welcome to Downward Dog Rising. I'm Traci, and if you have any back pain, join me right now and let's get started. This will help you out. Your two hip bones, anterior, superior, iliac spines. If you reach to the front of your pelvis, you can feel the hip bones. Ideally, we want them to be in a straight line across from each other. And whether you're aware of this or not, you've felt it before, I'm sure. Sometimes one hip can hike higher than the other. So say my two hip bones are in a straight line across from each other. That's ideal. That's what we want. Sometimes we can get off center, off balance, and one hip can start hiking up. And there's a muscle in our back, quadratus lumborum, and then sometimes that muscle is working too hard and it kind of starts lifting, it's overworked, and then it just tenses up and it lifts your hip up. And then there's other circumstances where your pelvis can rotate a little bit. It can rotate and hike at the same time, obliquity of the pelvis. So there's different things going on, and I'm gonna give you pelvic clock to do. We do this in Pilates, and then we'll do some yoga stretching for our back. So we'll combine a little bit of Pilates to get our back to feel better, and then we'll mix it with some yoga stretching. So here, if you have anything a straight line, a book edge, you can even use that across the two hips. Anything you have, the hips are straight. So we start off, those two hip bones, 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock on the face of a clock. Navel is going to be 12 o'clock on the face of a clock. And pubic symphysis, pubic bone, is going to be 6 o'clock on the face of a clock. So start off, you're going to see how my abdominals pull tight, and then my stomach's growling as I pull them in tight. So you want to feel how your abdominals pull tight, and I want you to use intrinsically front body to back body. When you pull your abdominals in tight, I want you to use that deep connection to let your hip bones roll back to 12 o'clock navel, and then you inhale and you arch your back a little bit off the mat. We just do a little stretch. So this is 12 o'clock, 6 o'clock, pelvic tilt. Peel back, scoop your core in tight, inhale, release. So you exhale, inhale. And if this ever caused pain, just to do pelvic clock, tilting, posteriorly tilting pelvis, anteriorly tilting pelvis, you would just stop. You would back out if you have pain. So then we go back and forth to warm up your back. Your core is turned on. You tighten in. 2 more. See how my hip bones are lower than pubic bone? That's posterior tilt. Now see how my hip bones roll forward a little bit higher than pubic bone? That means anterior tilt. Okay, so find neutral spine, hip bones, pubic bones, same plane of alignment. So we want to have our spine be neutral, hips align. Okay, now here comes pelvic clock, the 3 o'clock, the 9 o'clock. So you have your hip bones aligned, they're straight across. Not only do we have a straight line across hip bone to hip bone, think of sectioning your pelvis now into 2 halves. There's 2 halves of your pelvis, and sometimes you do have one side rotating and twisting. And if one side rotate and twist, the way the pelvis is designed, if one side comes forward, the other side shifts back. And we have this type of motion here with this kind of motion going this way. So things can get compacted or compressed. So what I want you to do, when you find that straight line across 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock, right hip is 3, left hip is 9, I want you to section the pelvis to 2 halves straight down the center. Keep 1 half of your pelvis on the mat. Now, think of a guide wire on your hip bone. The hip goes up and then the hip goes down. So I want you to inhale, half the pelvis stays on the mat. Exhale. So like a guide wire, reach 1 to 2 inches to left side of navel when you bring your 9 o'clock hip down. So you inhale, you lift up. You're being careful you don't let your hip hike into your rib cage. Keep a little gap between rib cage, hip bone. And then you lift up. And then tighten your core, bring the hip down. So you're going to go straight up. Let's see on that side's higher actually. So my left hip is hiked. And I have pain on the right side of my back, so that would make sense if I have sacroiliac joint, SI joint stuff happening. So I'm gonna like stick my hand between my rib cage and my hip bone, like my thumb and my index finger, between the 2 bony parts, the bottom of the ribs, that's a bone, the hip bone. Ooh, I just had a pop and a crack in the right side of my back, that did it. Okay, so make room between rib and hip, and you lift and then you lower. Oh, I just had another pop on the right side. That feels much better. The hip goes up, tighten your core into your back, the hip goes down. I'm just trying to create a little space in my hip socket. So between rib and hip, I'm not hiking up. 2 more. The hip goes up, trying to make some space, the hip goes down. You wouldn't do this if you have hardware in your spine, by the way. I'm cautioning you, if you have a fused spine with rods in it, hardware, the hardware is there to keep it all together, to keep it stabilized. So I wouldn't want you to like try to move back and forth this way because there's something already keeping you stabilized together. So avoid this if you have hardware. You inhale and then you exhale. 2 more. The hip goes up, the hip goes down, trying to make space. I just had another adjustment. Okay, return center. So once again, your 2 hip bones are straight and level. Now this 9 o'clock stays down. Now, can you lift? That's harder to control. Okay. Now this right hip goes up. Think of space between rib and hip, and then the right hip comes down. It's like I have a harder time moving this side. It's blocked. Like the left side's more loosey-goosey, and then the right side moves like a big block. Inhale. Exhale, tighten core to back. Inhale, exhale, just trying to keep some space. Inhale, exhale. 4, and then 3. Space between the rib and the hip. 2 more. The hip goes up, the hip goes down. Last one, hip goes up, hip goes down. Okay, now think of a boat rocking, or maybe I'll even do a different visual. I am going to use the visual of sloshing water from one half of the pelvis to the other. So I want you to think of one hip goes up, roll the marble, the hip goes down. Oh, I just had a pop in my neck on that one. The hip goes up, the hip goes down. So you inhale. Now, very important, keep a straight line across your two hip bones. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. So we're making some room in there. 4. You're also getting the muscles on each side of the spine. 3, 2. We've got those paraspinal muscles. Last one, inhale, exhale. Excellent. And now I'm going to ask you to reach under the knees. Hug the knees into your chest for a second. So I'm just going to hug my knees in. Inhale, exhale. Let my back sink into the mat. Inhale, exhale. One more time. Now you're going to plant your feet on the mat. Shoulders, hips, knees, ankles. Like everything's aligned. Push into all 4 corners of your feet. Tighten your abdominals into the length of your spine. Chest is open. Now as you push into your feet, tailbone reaches long. Now think of weight across shoulder blade shelf, and then there's openness here. We don't want this part of the back compressing or squishing together, so think of elongating from mid-breastbone all the way to tailbone, from the mid-back down to the tailbone. And then you set your pelvis on the mat and just think of space between ribs and hips. So you're just going to go straight up. We're going to stabilize your spine. Your core tightens in, and then bring the hips straight down. I'm kind of going off a little bit. Really scoop in, narrow the 2 hip bones together. Straight back to mat. That one was a little better. 7 more, straight up, no weight in neck. And straight back to mat. 6 more, you're gonna go straight up, no weight in neck. Straight back to mat. 5, so feel how your hips stay in alignment. The knees stay right in line with the hip sockets. Straight back to mat. 4 more, tighten your core to your back, scoop in tight, pull in without pushing your abs out. 3 more, see your glutes need to turn on, collarbones wide. 2 more times. When you have more control, you'll feel how both hips hit mat simultaneously. 1 more time, it's a straight lift up, tighten core to back. And then bring hips straight down to mat. Excellent. Okay, now the next thing, okay, now we're going to keep pelvis stable. The first one, we made our hips move. Now this one, we keep our hips stable. We make our legs move. So you lift your knees up. You could plant one hand on each kneecap. Tailbone heavy, tighten the core in. Stir the leg inside your hip socket. 3 more. Feel the space across the low back open up. 2 more. Narrow the 2 hip bones together. Last one. Come back center. Now reverse it. Inhale, exhale. So feel how the leg moves, but the hips stay stable. 3. The leg stirs deeper into your hip socket. 2, tighten core to low back. Last one. Now, bring 1 foot down at a time to your mat. Imagine these 2 hip bones, they're still all the way straight across, level. Imagine them pulling tight across and together. Straight line. We want to wake up transversus abdominis muscle. Now let's go into our reclined butterfly. So I'm asking you to bring the soles of your feet together. Your hip bones remain straight up to the ceiling, straight to the sky. Chest is open, collarbones down. opening wide, shoulders down and back. Now imagine those two hip bones pulling tight across so that you could feel the back of your pelvis widen onto the mat underneath you. Stay here. This is a hip opener, so you're going to feel the crease in the front of the hip and the thigh. Just gently release and stretch. Inhale, exhale. Spine is long, breathing in and then breathing out. Breathing in and breathing out. Soften. Let out a deep sigh so the air goes back out of your lungs. Soften the breastbone. So you just want to release so you feel how the middle back, mine just connected to the mat. Mid back between the two shoulder blades releases down into the mat. Soften through your sternum, your breastbone. Feel the middle part of the back connected to the mat. Try one more breath like that. Inhale. And then you exhale. Gently release. Stay here for a couple more breaths. And one more deep inhale. And exhale, gently release. Excellent. Okay, next, bring your knees together. Hug in again. Maybe breathe into the space between shoulder blades, mid-back. And then gently release. Avoid any flexion if you have osteoporosis. Inhale. And then exhale, release. Wonderful. We're going to bring our feet down to the mat. I'm going to do something now to help your low back feel better, and we'll release your hip. Crisscross your ankle above the knee. It could go above or below, but not on it. And then maybe you feel a stretch here. This is really beginner. Then just stay here. Just let your hip open up without force. And then if this isn't enough of a stretch, then we'll go ahead. You're going to keep back on mat, flex your feet, pull and reach under the hamstring. You could use your right elbow to guide your inner thigh away from you. We're just going to stay here and breathe for a moment. You're going to feel how that low back really elongates into the mat. Sometimes when I'm training a client and they don't have the mobility to get into this position, you could take a chair or a big physio ball and just rest your leg over it and let the weight of the chair, let the chair hold you so it doesn't hurt your low back or make your back arch. Or if it was hard to get your leg in a certain position, you wouldn't have to bring it as close. So do what feels right on your body. You could just place the calf, this whole lower part of the leg, straight across the chair, and there you have it. Your leg's held up in the air. So that's a modification. If your back is bothering you or you need a little support, flex your feet to give support to your hip sockets, your knee joints. Feel how that low back just sinks deeper into the mat. It's going to feel good. My back is already feeling better than from when I first started. You could either stay here or take the stretch a little deeper. To go deeper, walk your hands maybe to mid-shin and pull closer to you. You'll feel it go right into that glute, a little bit higher up through the thigh and the hamstring. Take a couple inhales here. You're gonna feel a little higher up than the last one in your side glute and your hip, hamstring. One more deep inhale. And if anything ever felt really good, you can pause the video, hold it longer for a couple more breaths. That's totally fine, good to do if you feel like that would benefit you. Carefully, gently release. You're going to take this leg down. Go ahead, do the other side. And again, you could either stay here if you already feel the stretch in this left hip and glute. If you don't feel the stretch, lift up. Use this left elbow to guide your left inner thigh away from you. Or if this was a difficult range of motion, you had a hip replacement or a knee replacement, you could always put your foot on a chair like that and just rest, and then you have support and you're not bringing your joint angles in as close to your body. This is my tighter hip, my angle, the knees higher. Hug in, use that elbow to press, guide that inner thigh, externally rotated. And then you can flex your feet. Doing so is going to give your hips some support as well as your knees. And just stay here and breathe. Oh, this one feels really good. That left hip is helping my right side of my back feel better. My left hip is tighter. Oh, my back is just releasing on my right side. So you breathe in, elongate head away from tailbone, flex your feet, exhale. You inhale, spine is long, you exhale. Just ease the tension out of your low back, out of your hips. Release your breastbone, your sternum with a deep exhale. And that's going to bring your middle back thoracic spine to gently touch down into your mat. Breathing in, breathing out. Next, we're going to reach below. We're going to go lower away from our center, down the shin. I got an itch on the top of my nose. Sorry, I'm scratching my nose. Had a little itch. There we go. Flex your feet. I'm going to see if I can bring this a little higher. So you just hug in. I'm going to actually release this when it feels better than to flex it right now in this position. This top leg foot can flex. And then feel how your low back releases a little bit more. You might feel a little compressed area that's slowly pulling apart right now. Or you might feel your glute, the top of your thigh stretching apart, your hamstring, lateral glute, hip, piriformis, all of the above. We're all tight in different spots of the same muscle groups. So I'll say it in such a way that you might not actually feel it in the exact same place or way that I feel it, but in the same area, like the hip area, the side of the hip, the glute. We've got the lateral glute, the major glute. So when you pull in tighter, you might be feeling more at the top of the thigh, the hamstring going into that glute max, and then into that glute medius, the side of the glute. Breathing in, breathing out, just gently release it. Just let the tension go. One more deep inhale. Softly, gently release. Excellent. So now for sure, you're probably feeling like the low back is a little bit closer down to the mat. So then it should feel like there's some space between the back of the rib cage and the back of the pelvis. I'm going to do another thing right now to give you some space in the low back lumbar vertebra. And it's going to also turn on and work your obliques, those muscles that wrap around you on diagonal fibers. And they also have to do with you getting your shoulder blades in your back to stabilize as well. So those oblique slings. So what I want you to do, you're going to go into a straight line, single file. So sometimes in Pilates, there's exercises where we bring our heels a little bit out in front of our hips. And there's other times where we don't want to do that because we don't want to compromise our spine. So this is one of the exercises where your shoulders, your hips, your knees, your ankles, they're all aligned. And you want your 2 hip bones, remember that dowel I had? Ideally, you do want your 2 hip bones to be straight and level across. When I started working out, I noticed that my left hip was doing this. It was going up a little, and then it was causing me to have pain on the other side. So I have different things going on that I'm fixing now, but I figured I'd share it with you because if you align your bony landmarks, the 2 hip bones, that's going to be helpful. And then we're just trying to create some space between ribs and hips. Shoulder drops down. Inhale, you can either make a fist that way or you can press your palm into the mat. You lift the legs up off mat. You keep in a straight line and then you lower down. You're going to feel room here between ribs and hips. Exhale and then inhale. Exhale. If you ever had sharp pinching or twinges of pain, you would stop immediately because that's not what you want to be feeling right now. And 8. So just feel length. Tighten your abdominal wall all the way to your back. 7. And then 6. Reach and stretch. And 5. Reach and stretch. 4. Tighten your core. Exhale. 3, think of anchoring your 2 shoulder blades down the back. That'll relax tops of shoulders. Inhale, exhale. And last one, reach and gently release. Awesome. Okay, so we just made some room in there. And then the next thing that I want you to do, I'm going to ask you to bend the knees this way, like 90 degrees. Your hips are still straight. Maybe you would take a pillow, even a yoga block. Let's see, where did I put mine? It's right here. Ha! It was right behind me. I'll show you what you could do so that your neck and your head have some support. So your shoulders down away from ear. I'm just aligning the neck. Maybe you would have, like you would drop shoulder down away from ear, have some space. And what I want you to do, think of your knees, inner thighs squeezed together. And you might feel a little space open up over here as you squeeze your knees together. And then I want you, again, if there's hardware in your spine, avoid this. You're not going to do this. So contraindicated if you have fusion in your back. Here, I want you to keep your hip bones facing squared straight ahead, 3 o'clock, 9 o'clock. Now we're just going to do a little rotation through the middle spine, the thoracic spine. Inhale, open shoulder, chest. Exhale, come back in. So you inhale, maybe your nose travels with your breastbone. Exhale. So we're just going to get a little bit of mobility. Thoracic spine, mid-back. You inhale, you open. You exhale, you close. 2 more. Your hip bones are squared to the front. Really expand into those ribs. Inhale, exhale. And gently come in. Awesome. All right. Slowly, we're going to push up, tighten core to spine, protect your back. And then let's just bring our legs to the other side of our mat. So tonight's workout isn't like a strenuous workout. It's more to work on your alignment and help you get rid of back pain. We're going to lower back down to the mat. You can relax your bottom arm under your head. And again, this is one of those exercises. Your shoulders are straight above your hips. I feel like I'm off center now on this side. Hold on. My hips are straight. You want to have this straight line across your hip bones. We're being careful that our hip doesn't roll back behind us or come forward. Usually it would fall back that way. Open up the space between ribs and hips. I want you to tighten your core into your back. Shoulder blades anchored down back. You can either make a fist or press your palm into the mat. Inhale, prepare. Exhale, stretch both legs away from your center. Feel core deepen into your back. Exhale. So I want to make some space in your back. Exhale, tighten core to spine. Lower back down. Exhale, reach legs long. Lower back down, feel length. Exhale, reach legs long. Tighten your core to your spine. And 6, 5, far away. 4 more, far away. 3, exhale. 2 more, ribs out of hips, exhale. And last one, ribs out of hips, you exhale and gently come in. Awesome. Okay, next, fold those knees in. Keep a straight line across those 2 hip bones. Now this is where you could take a little pillow to support your neck. And then basically your bottom arm, your shoulders out of your ear, your neck is supported. You're going to have your hands on top of one another. Again, contraindicated if your spine has fusion or rides, you're not going to twist. And then what I want you to do, we don't do big twists with osteoporosis either. We modify, maybe just open your chest a little bit. You don't want to twist too much at all. Just a tiny little motion. And then you would inhale, ribs expand. Exhale, come back. And then you would inhale, ribs expand, squeeze your knees together. Feel a little space here on the side here. You would inhale, ribs expand, exhale. We want that mid-back between the shoulder blades to open up a little bit. And then you exhale. And one more time, deep inhale. And exhale, come back in. Awesome. All right. Next, we're going to get rid of the yoga block again, or your pillow. And then I'm going to ask you to turn onto your back. All right. So then what I want you to do here, feel how you're aligning your shoulders, hips, knees, ankles, everything's aligned. And then I'm going to have you do a little modified spinal twist. You can even use your yoga block as a support system. So I'm going to ask you to cross ankle over knee like that. And then what I want you to do, instead of rotating and doing a deeper twist where we rotate this way, I'm going to have you go the opposite way. So the ankle's over the knee. We're going to cactus our arms by our sides. Our hips are squared. And then I'm going to have you do less of a twist just so that your back doesn't overreact or anything. So you would just allow your body to twist out of center. And then maybe you would use a block for support. And then you inhale. And I want you to focus on these ribs opening apart. And I don't always use a block for this. I'm just using a block because my back felt tweaked out from running on an uneven sand the other day. So it's up to you if you want to use a prop or not. You're lengthening apart. You inhale, chest is open. Keep this far shoulder down against the mat. It will feel like your shoulder blade is just melting away from the center of your spine. And that's a good gauge. If you could keep your shoulder down on the mat, you're not going to over-rotate and go too far into your spine. Feel some room between the ribs. Breathe in, breathe out. Let your entire spine lengthen into the mat. Breathe, just breathe. If we don't get enough air and oxygen into our body, it gets ischemic. I can't say it right. Ischemia, when you have lack of oxygen, because there's lack of blood flow because the muscles are so tight and constricted. So this is why we want to get things to loosen up and get the blood flowing again and get rid of waste products and toxins that get trapped in there. You might start to feel the space opening across the front of the hip as well. One more deep inhale and gently return center. All right. Once again, align shoulders, hips, knees, ankles, shoulders, hips, knees, ankles. We want everything to be aligned. You might even do a lift, no weight in neck. Just make sure hips are level, hips come down together. All right. So now we're going to take our opposite ankle to knee. Then what you do, when we do a deep twist, we go that way, but we're going to do less than a deep twist. So now, cactus your arms, keep chest open. If you want a little support, take your cushion or a yoga block to the side with you. This left shoulder stays down against the mat. You're just slowly taking your legs the other direction. Pay attention to what your back is doing on the mat, your shoulder. There won't be any pain, jabbing sensations, sharp sensations of pain. If there is, then you need to back out of it. Breathe, expand those ribs. Exhale, breathe, expand those ribs wide open and apart. Inhale. And exhale, expansion into those ribs. Get your sides to open up. Inhale. Exhale. You want to feel your ribs widen and expand. When we do true diaphragmatic breathing, your ribs will expand in all directions. The breath will become deeper, more efficient, more full. And then you soften your breastbone, your sternum, to help that middle back not be so tight, and the shoulders and the neck as well. Just gently feel the tension ease out of your low back. Maybe one more deep inhale. And exhale, softly, gently release. Awesome. Slowly return to the center. We're going to take that leg down and then gently just hug in for a moment. Feel how that low back is really firm against the mat. If it's within your practice, you can gently rock side to side. If doing so makes your low back feel the least bit unstable, stop, return center, stay still. Inhale, exhale. One more time. And inhale and exhale and gently release. Awesome. All right. So next, what I want you to do, I'm going to ask you to turn onto your side. Some sometimes when your low back gets really uncomfortable from having a twinge of pain, it's lying on your stomach can actually make it feel more unstable. It might not be ready to do extension work just yet. So I'm not going to take you to anything lying on your stomach right now just yet. Just wanting to get your core to activate, to stabilize your low back, the lumbar spine. And since mine was twinged from running on the uneven sand, I don't even personally want to lay on my stomach and show you the extension right now. So I'm just being safe, and we're going to tighten the core in and just press up to a seated position. And then basically, I want you to take a second. You're going to bend the legs in front. Notice how your shoulders are just straight over your hips here. And then, as long as you don't have osteoporosis, I don't want anyone to hurt their back, you would elevate, and then I would want you to just kind of like hug the thighs a little bit. And I want you to think of breathing into the back here, the back of the ribs for a second. So you just inhale and then exhale to try to get those intercostals, the muscles between the ribs, to expand, create some space. And then exhale 2 more times. Take a deep inhale. Exhale, create some space. And 1 more time, breathing in. And then exhale. And then it's safe to do extension if you have osteoporosis. So just think of elevating. You're on your sits bones. You just extend up a little bit. Release. Let's just do 2 like that. Lift and lengthen up, extend and release. And then 1 more time, gonna lift and lengthen up, extend and release. Wonderful. And then I'm gonna ask you to face front, cross your ankles, and then I just wanna do a little side bend seated. So we're just gonna go here. Maybe you'll use a block. Sometimes our ribs do get really tight. You would just place palm up, forearm facing up, and just open the side. Get this whole side to stretch apart. Inhale and exhale. And then I want you to do a tiny little back bend by inhale, rotate to sky, open heart, inhale, and then exhale. Just breathe into it. Inhale, and then exhale, feel space open, and then inhale, exhale 1 more time, breathing in and breathing out, and then gently lengthen, come up. We're going to take this to the other side of our body. Almost done. You could either have your arm come to the mat. I feel like I'm forcing myself, so I'm not going to do that tonight. You could use a pillow, a prop, a blanket, anything folded up, or one of these blocks. So you're going to stretch up, sink into those sits bones, and then palm to sky, and just feel this whole side open. We're lengthening, shoulders down and back. And then I want you to do a slight tiny little back bend, extend middle back. Interesting, I'm feeling a really deep stretch through here across the hip, and the ribs, the psoas. Ooh, I just got some space to open up in there. Inhale and exhale. It's probably why my left hip was hiked. My psoas was tight on that side. Ooh, it's opening now. Inhale. And exhale, open heart to sky. Inhale. And exhale, really open. I hope this is benefiting you. Inhale, just getting things to realign. Exhale, 1 more deep inhale. Exhale, and then gently lengthen, lengthen, lengthen. Come back up. And how do you feel? Hopefully, you feel a little bit more release through your back. You feel a bit more level, more even. Breathing in, we're just gonna stretch arms to sky and then gently bring hands to heart. So I hope this feels much better than it did before you started. Oh, I want to do one more without rounding. We're just gonna do this little stretch forward to open our back. We're not rounding from mid-back. Feel the crease and the front of the hips and let your sits bones stretch back behind you. Just feel how that low back pulls apart. There you go. This feels really good. Feeling space open between the back of the rib cage, the back of the pelvis, the back of the iliac crest. Feel like your sits bones are equal. So the back of the pelvis is lengthening away from the back of the ribs as your sits bones sink deeper into the mat. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. One more. Slowly make your way in. Notice, switch ankles now. Take the other leg up top so your ankles crisscross. Once again, sink down into your pelvis. I should say sits bones are at the bottom or sitting on those bones. You lengthen up, so without rounding over, we elevate our heart. And right here, you could even stick your hand into the crease of where your leg bone goes into the hip socket. So you can put a crease there to feel where it's at. Hip hinge forward and do a gentle stretch forward to wherever it's comfortable for you. You inhale, and then you exhale. Let your sits bones sink behind you into the mat. So I'm just kind of talking you through what you should be feeling. I've been doing that this whole workout. Hope you don't mind it. Just letting you know whereabouts, where to feel it, what it should feel like. You'll have variation from me, but it'll be in the same vicinity. Feel that pulling apart, low back. One more time. Keep heart lifting up through the arms. Exhale and rise up through top of the head. All right, you did it, everyone. Hands to heart. I hope this helped. I know it's helped me. I feel more comfortable now. I'm going to get ready to go to sleep. And I wish you a good rest of your morning, afternoon, or day whenever you see this. If you're still here watching, I appreciate you. I appreciate you for watching my channel. And to help me, please, if you like my content, please share or like or subscribe. Appreciate it. Thank you. Take care, everyone. Peace. Bye. And I hope your back feels better. Mine does. All right. Bye. See you soon.